Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa.
And hello again, everybody, and welcome into the latest edition of Tider Insider Television, as you heard, presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. To find out more, go to visittuscaloosa.com. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. And Rodney, it's Tider Insider, so it has been for, I guess, you're 30 years on the site, 25 years on the television show. But even with Saban's role, we haven't had a lot of weeks like this for recruiting.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been
amazing.
Yeah, 6 commits since we joined you last Tuesday. And we're going to just dive right in and get it started with the latest. We begin with the commitment earlier today. In fact, not that long ago, a little, maybe 30 minutes ago or so, Brian Williams Jr., the outstanding wide receiver from the First Academy in Orlando, 6'4", 185. He runs track. He's been timed at 11.29 in the 100 meters and 23.08 in the 200 meters. Now, he was heavily recruited by Penn State, Florida, Notre Dame, and Kentucky. But ultimately, as expected, as Rodney predicted, this is a member of the Firecracker Five. He chose to roll with the Tide and committed to Alabama this afternoon. Rodney, give us some insight on this guy. Rangy, fast, long-armed. I mean, good-looking football player.
Yeah, I mean, he's pushing 6'4" right now. He's got the frame. You could see the frame right there. He's going to fill out. He's going to get bigger. He's got really good speed. He's got the two things we talked about, those critical factors in terms of receivers here under DeBoer. You want guys with height. You want guys with the ability to stretch the field, and he's got both of those.
All right, this receiving class has gone from 0 commits to 2 and expected another one tomorrow. Last night, a guy who favors Brian Williams Jr. physically, 3-star wide receiver, Owen Cabell, 6'3", 195-pound, 4.4 speed from Nashville Christ Presbyterian, plays for Ingle Martin there, the former Florida quarterback. He announced his commitment to Alabama over Illinois and Vanderbilt. As a junior, he had 43 catches for 973 yards and 13 touchdowns. He ran a 10.76 second 100-meter dash, ran a 4.4 40-yard dash at Alabama's recent camp. And, again, they're different players, but they're very similar.
Yeah. Height, speed, we talked about those two critical factors. Cabell has them as well. And, you know, Gary, here's the thing. We talk about Courtney Morgan and the evaluations that they do as a staff. This guy, Owen Cabell, he's a guy that when you talk about evaluations, they bring him into camp. He has a blowout camp. He has a very impressive performance. You mentioned a 10.7, 600 meters. He ran a 4.4 here at the camp, somewhere in the 4.4s. Again, the size, the speed, all of those things, they really liked him.
You know, when you're looking at wide receivers, I think you do want a mix. You want some quick twitch guys, maybe smaller guys, explosive guys, shorter route guys, but do you really want to be able to, I think this offense, they want to be able to push the ball downfield as well. And these kind of guys are those type of players.
I think that's really one of the things they lacked last year in terms of, you know, you have Ryan Williams, obviously, very dynamic. Jeremy Bernard's a really good player, obviously. But you wanted some guys with some height. You wanted some guys with some speed. And they brought in Isaiah Horton, of course, to transfer from Miami. But they needed more of those guys. And they obviously, Derek Meadows, the true freshman, fits that bill. So you kind of see what they want to build here in terms of the wide receiver core.
And these two great wide receivers, there's another one that's going to announce tomorrow that in terms of star rating trumps both of them. We'll get to Cedaria Morgan in a moment. But let's continue to backtrack the commitments that Alabama's received. On Sunday, the biggest addition, you could make an argument, the biggest addition of the class so far, 5-star linebacker out of Gainesville, Georgia, Xavier Griffin, the X-Man, commits to the Crimson Tide. He's not the biggest guy, 6'3", maybe 205 pounds, but he can really run. He really attacks the quarterback, plays for Josh Niblett, former Alabama player, former Hoover head coach, runs a 4.5 40. Now, this is linebacker, folks. In 8 games as a junior, he missed some time due to injury, but still 43 tackles and 6 sacks. And a lot of people have compared him, if you want the player comp at Alabama, maybe to Jahad Campbell a little bit, that kind of versatility. Not as big as Jahad right now, but this is a premier athlete at a position in the modern game of college football that you've got to have linebackers that can run.
The frame, look at the frame. He's going to put on weight. He's got incredible speed. You watch him run down people from behind. I mean, so I think when you talk about Xavier Griffin, you talk about speed. That's what he's going to add to this defense.
Is he a guy, Rodney, that, again, you always try to project when these guys will play. Not everybody's going to play as a true freshman, but he appears to be a guy that could.
I think he definitely could. When you look at the athleticism that he has, the speed that he's going to bring. Now, again, they've got a lot of young linebackers here, but he's a guy that I think they can put on the edge. He has the ability to move inside and play inside. You know, Jahad Campbell, you mentioned that comparison, Gary. He came here as an outside backer, moved inside. We'll see what Griffin ends up as, but he could play either or.
All right, everybody's not going to be a 5-star. It's just not possible. But you know what? Finding a good, solid 3-star prospect in your own backyard, that's good recruiting as well. And on Friday, Hillcrest linebacker from here in Tuscaloosa, Zay Hall, announced live on my 5 o'clock sports show that he was committing to the Crimson Tide. Now, here's the deal with him. We talked about this last week. It's hard to be under the radar these days, but here he is committing. But he flew under the radar a little bit because he transferred in from Paul Bryant in July last year. Then he played 2 games, got hurt, returned for 3 games late in the year, but only played in 5 games, still had 39 tackles. 6'2", 237 at Alabama's camp, 4'5", 40. That's moving for a man this big. Now, he's been an inside-the-box linebacker for Hillcrest, but Jamie Mitchell, the head coach, told me they may move him to the edge some this year. He's a really aggressive, big, physical linebacker.
And Gary, he's only played, like you said, he only played, 5, 6, 7 games last year. Really young player in terms of the experience that he has. The measurables are off the charts. You mentioned 6'2", 237, 4'5", 40. That's pretty incredible. And you look at the frame. He could get bigger. I mean, you know, right now we project him as a linebacker. That's what he was recruited as. That's what he might be. But he has the body. He could fill out. You never really know. He could end up a bandit defensive end.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I was standing right next to him. He's a legit 6'2". Yeah. He might be 6'3" even. He's a big dude, and I think going to have a monster season this year for Hillcrest High School. All right, also last week, Alabama, we know, wants tight ends for this offense. One of the best in the country. Max Sutter out of Dunlap, Illinois, announced his commitment to the Crimson Tide last Thursday night. This gives offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb another 4-star tight end after getting Marshall Pritchett in this upcoming freshman class from last year. Now, Sutter was a hot commodity. He had interest from the likes of Georgia, Ohio State, Ole Miss, and, of course, home state Illinois there in his home state. 6'5", 230. The thing I noticed about him at his commitment ceremony last week watching the video is he's slender. He's going to add more weight, Rodney, but a very, very polished route runner for a tight end.
He is. I mean, you look at him, he's extremely athletic, a guy that can get down the field, make plays, kind of like a lot like Marshall Pritchett, as you alluded to. And don't forget now, Caleb Edwards is another true freshman tight end that they have. It's kind of a little bit different, 6'6", 245, maybe a little bit bigger right now. But, man, these are an impressive group of tight ends that Kalen DeBoer is bringing in. And
one thing about him, too, he's played some high school quarterback. So you know what kind of athlete he is. In fact, I had a reporter on from up there in Illinois on my radio show last week who said, their quarterback transferred out, went with his dad, who was an assistant coach, took a job in Indiana. So he's going to probably play quite a bit of quarterback in a Wildcat this year, and so they can, use his talents. That's the type of athlete that he is. So as good as that commitment was, it was really earlier on Thursday that had Alabama fans buzzing, because that's when Xavier Crowell, the 5-star running back out of powerful Jackson High School down in southwest Alabama, who reclassified from 2027 to 2026. Look at this. He had the mannequin heads with all the hats on them, but he picked the Alabama hat, make no mistake about it. Now, this is a guy, Rod, that, listen, I'm no talent evaluator. I've said this before on my radio show. I'm not one of these guys that's going to go out there and break down video for you, but, I got eyes.
Yeah, right.
This kid's special.
He is special. You know what? He's so special. I can't tell you how many calls I got from my old friends back in Texas telling me, hey, we're getting this guy. You saw the Texas hat? Well, he picked Alabama. This is a big-time pickup. I mean, I think when you look at Crowell, Gary, and I think you mentioned he reclassified. He's a guy that's really only supposed to be going into, he's only going to be a junior this year. So he's going to get here a little bit early, big-time talent. You mentioned the size, the speed, the combination of run between the tackles, get outside, catch the ball. He can do it all.
Yeah, how about this? In his freshman and sophomore seasons, 3,700 total yards and 56 touchdowns. That is impressive. And as you said, going to be a junior, but will go through the summer school next year in an attempt to reclassify, graduate, and come here with this freshman class next year. All right, Alabama has been rolling, and there's more to come on Tider Insider Television. The Crimson Tide as we kind of alluded to earlier, tomorrow is going to be a huge announcement. It looks like it's going to come down to the two in-state schools, Alabama and Auburn, battling for, if Crowell's not the top prospect in the state or Tate Jones, it might be this guy. We'll have the latest on Cedaria Morgan. Also, we'll be getting to your phone calls, emails, and tweets a little bit later on in the show. As always, that phone number, 205-348 WVOA, that's 348-9882. Go ahead and call now so we can get you on the lines, and we want to hear from you, Tider Insider Nation. I know you're excited about this recruiting class, the way it's coming together. We'll take your phone calls in just a little bit. We'll be right back on the Tider Insider program, the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. We're coming back after this. All right, this amazing news, and we welcome you back into TITV alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. It's presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. This amazing run of commitments, Rodney, it's just come together fast. It was kind of a slow start to the summer for Alabama. Then all of a sudden, Alabama got a pair of 4 stars in quarterback Jet Tamala and offensive lineman Sam Utu. That kind of got the tide rolling, and then we just kind of laid it out. Since that time, Alabama hasn't stopped. Rodney's Firecracker 5. It looks like it's going to go 5 for 5. Don't want to put the jinx on you, but so far so good. And, you know, you even said on my radio show, get the Bachman Turner Overdrive song out. You ain't seen nothing yet.
That's right.
And Courtney Morgan, Alabama's general manager, kind of tweeted that as well. So let's get to what's coming up. And tomorrow, another member of the Firecracker 5, maybe the most, well, Crowell's there too, but maybe the most important member is 5-star wide receiver Cedaria Morgan, because Alexander City, Benjamin Russell High School, is kind of it's down there near Auburn. And even though Alabama's had some success there, it's always kind of been thought to be an Auburn high school. Former Alabama assistant Willie Martin was the head coach there. Nick Saban hired him. That certainly helped. But this time last year, I think probably most people felt like Cedaria Morgan was going to wind up going to Auburn. That's not the projection now. Rodney, Alabama's done a lot of great work. And let's say this again. I say I hate comparisons, and I'm about to make one. I think he's the closest high school receiver in this state to Julio Jones since Julio Jones. Size-wise, athleticism, muscularity, just a special, like Crowell, another special in-state football player.
He is. I mean, look at him. Again, we talked about height. Check. He's 6'4". He's 210 pounds. He can get down the field. You saw him making those plays down the field. He out-jumps defenders for balls. I mean, he is a fantastic talent. You know, Gary, I talked to some people around the Southeast here over the last few days, and they said, look, you know, we agree with you guys over there in Alabama. There's probably not a better receiver in the country in this class than Cedaria Morgan.
You know, I said this too on the radio, that in 2008, Nick Saban signed Mark Ingram and Julio Jones. In 2009, they helped lead Alabama to a national championship. I really think Crowell and Morgan could beat Kalen DeBoer's Mark Ingram and Julio Jones.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the way that class shaped up, that Ingram class with Julio and that bunch that you mentioned won the national championship in '09, I mean, I think when you look at this class, now again, it's hard to compare guys that are in high school to what those guys achieved. But what I would say is, Gary, potentially, I mean, this is a class right now that is shaping up to be right there with some of the best that Nick Saban had.
So sitting here tonight, you feel really good that Morgan's going to pick Alabama
I mean,
tomorrow.
I feel really good about Cedaria Morgan right now. Now, again, you never really know in these predictions for a high-profile kid, but I feel good about him.
All right. Last Tuesday, we talked about J.J. Finch, the defensive lineman committed to Alabama. On Friday, you expect not a Firecracker 5 member, but you expect Nolan Wilson, a guy that is out of Picayune, Mississippi, that Alabama's recruited for a long time. You're expecting him to commit to Alabama as well.
Yeah, again, that's another one I feel great about. We've talked about the defensive line repeatedly here, the need in this class. Nolan Wilson, he's one of the top defensive linemen in the country. He's like Finch. Finch has gotten bigger. He's close to 280 now. I think you're going to see Nolan Wilson blow up weight-wise, one of the best in the country. I mean, that'll be, when you've got Finch, you get Nolan Wilson. Those are two really good players. You got Mari Johnson from Muscle Shoals, Jamarian Matthews. Probably could use another one. Elijah Golden's going to announce on the 26th out of Sarasota, Florida. Alabama's in there. I still think Tank Jones is going to end up a defensive lineman, Gary.
And on Saturday, the final member of the Firecracker 5, arguably the best safety in the country, out of Baltimore, Maryland, Jeriah Edwards is going to announce. As I said, you've got him projected to Alabama as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's pretty amazing. I tell you what, and we've said this, I asked you this a couple weeks ago, does anybody recruit the secondary better than Alabama?
No.
I mean, it's just amazing. The talent that they brought in the secondary corner, the length, the athleticism. Jariah Edwards is another one. I mean, he's 6'2", he's 205 pounds. He's a disruptor. Look how physical he is when he makes the tackles. He had 90 tackles last year, 17 tackles for losses, a lot of pass breakups, very active. This guy's a really great player.
And if this does come to fruition, no other way to say it, this would be one of those epic runs in recruiting.
Look, I think so, Gary. I really believe that. That's what I said in one of my updates this past week was we remembered the Palmer-Jeffries group back in 91, the way they finished that class off. You talk about 08, the way they finished that class off. And again, this run over the last 6, 8, 10 days, it's right up there with those groups.
And we're still watching Tank Jones, the 4-star defensive lineman out of Mobile, Elijah Golden, another defensive lineman, Taden Kawa, a quarterback to keep an eye on, and some others as well that Alabama could wind up getting commitments from too. All right, that's a busy recruiting, couple of recruiting segments still to come. Alabama offensive lineman held a camp right here in Tuscaloosa at his old high school over the weekend. We'll have it for you. And your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, that phone number, 205-348-9882. There's the email address, TITV@WVOA23.com. We'll be right back with a show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one, the only Tider Insider TV. Love this. Wilken Formby grew up in Tuscaloosa, went to Northridge High School. Now he's going to probably be the starting right tackle for the University of Alabama. Held a youth football camp at his old high school on Saturday. Great turnout. He had some help from his buddies, Caden Proctor, Parker Brailsford, Baker Hickman, even Clinton Dix was out there, as well as many local high school coaches helping those kids out and letting them dream that, hey, you could play at Alabama too. All right, welcome back into TITV. I'll remind you that phone lines are open, 205-348-9882. Come back to us anytime you want. There you go. 205-348-WVOA is the phone number. Right now, we're going to go ahead and take our email question of the day, and it's brought to you by KDM Service Corporation. When it comes to heating and air conditioning, KDM Service Corporation serves your family like our family. And the question is, why would Alabama sign a quarterback when they have Kalen? That's from Darian in Tuscaloosa. Well, they may sign two, because quarterbacks, you have to make sure you don't get caught shorthanded. You
do. I mean, look, let's be honest. Guys don't stick around. And there's a chance of the three guys they have here right now, there may only one of those guys be here next year this time. So you've got to have depth at the quarterback position. Yeah, absolutely. So we mentioned the one commitment already from Jet Tamala, and it looks like Alabama's kind of narrowed it down to who they'd like for the second quarterback to be. Taden Kawa out of Utah. He's a Hawaiian kid, really good-looking player, Gary. He's a 4-star rated player. Right. This is not a guy that's just a throw-in. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's hard to get two in one class, but I really like him. All right, that's where your answer is, that they're going to sign not just one, but probably two quarterbacks. All right, let's get to one more email question before we have to hit the break. And this is from Ted over in Pell City. Where is Doug Nussmeier coaching at? The former Alabama offensive coordinator? Well, he's the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. Wow. He's been around. He has coached at a lot of big-time schools. Of course, played in the NFL. His son, Garrett Nussmeier, is the starting quarterback at LSU. I always liked Doug Nussmeier. I won't forgive him for the Texas A&M game here. When they had the ball down there at the goal line and just run it in. Yeah, and wound up losing that game. All right, still to come on Tider Insider Television, Alabama baseball gets another commit in the transfer portal. And also, we'll be taking some phone calls, hopefully. Get those phone lines lit up. 205-348-WVOA. That's 348-9882. Go ahead and give us a call, because I'm telling you, phone lines are open. You call in, you're going to get through. We'll be right back after this. Alabama baseball adding another big stick from the transfer portal on Monday. This is a player from Australia originally. Johnny Lim, coming over from Southern Illinois. He was hot for the Salukis last year. On-base percentage, .443, had 19 home runs. I think right around 60 runs batted in. All-league player. He is a catcher, which could be a big position, because Alabama's current catcher, Brady Neal, could possibly go into the Major League Baseball draft. So nice pickup for Alabama in the portal. All right, do we have a phone call? All right, they're trying to get the graph. Go ahead and tell me who it is. All right, who is the caller? All right, Andrew over in McCalla. Hey, Andrew, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
Doing well.
Wanted to know about Tank Jones in Mobile. Where is he leaning?
Andrew, look, I thought perhaps, when you look at Tank Jones, another guy that Alabama's certainly a must-get in the state. I've been kind of leaning Bama on him, but I didn't put him in the Firecracker 5 for a reason. I was worried about Texas A&M. Now it comes out today that the Aggies are in there pretty strong, so we'll see what happens there. He's not going to make a decision for a while. Ultimately, I still think Alabama's in a good position. All
right, thank you for that phone call. Do we want to try to get an email in, or we want to go ahead and toss it to the break? All right. So got to let me know something here. I'm not a mind reader. All right, we're going to come back and wrap up this edition of TITV right after this. Second year in a row that Alabama didn't have anybody drafted in the NBA draft, but they do have a lot of guys signing. Mark Sears signed a two-way deal with the Bucks. Chris Youngblood signed a training camp contract with the Thunder. Grant Nelson signed a training camp contract with the Nets. And Clifford Amore signed a training camp contract with the Raptors. So 4 former Crimson Tiders going to get a shot in the NBA. Welcome back into TITV. Rodney, we're going to try to get to one more email question before we close out the show. And it is from Lee in Homewood, who is Alabama's recruiting director. Well, they don't really have a director of recruiting anymore. They have a general manager. Courtney Morgan kind of fills that role, doesn't he?
Yeah, Courtney Morgan, I mean, he's one of the best in the country. But they have a great staff, Gary. They have a great staff under him. All
right. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of TITV. A reminder that if you missed it or you just want to watch it again, we'll have a replay tonight at 10:30 following the news at 10 on WVUA 23, or catch it anytime at WVUA23.com. All right, we're going to leave you tonight with some video of Alabama sophomore wide receiver, former defensive back Jalen Mbakwe holding his annual camp over the weekend at his high school, Clay Chalkville High School. Boy, all these guys holding these camps for youth, I really, really love it. So we'll take you out with this. And a reminder, we'll be back next Tuesday night at 6:30, hopefully with a bevy full of commitments to talk about again. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good night.